Hey y'all. Today we are doing another Where Are They Now video. This is where I basically just go back to previous videos and I show you where those plants are now. I'm trying really hard to hide my coffee bar, but then these are my plant things. So I'm trying to hide both. Anyway, there's gonna be some stuff in the background. Get over it. So if you have not seen the first Where Are They Now video, I will link it down below for you, but the format of these videos is basically that I go back into the video archives and I show you what those plants look like now. I'll either put pictures, screenshots, or a snippet of the video or something here, and then I'll show you what they look like now. So we're going to pick up where we left off, and the first video that we're going to go over today is the monthly goals video. If you haven't seen that, I will link that down below so you can watch that first if you're interested. But the first plant that I mentioned in that video was the Pallitiflorum. I did just mention that one in the first Where Are They Now video, so I will link that above and I will also link it below if you're interested in where the Pallitiflorum is now and how it's doing. It is in that video, so you can watch that there. I'm gonna skip it for this video since we just showed it. But the next plant is the Monstera Elbow. If I'm able to find it, I'm actually going to put a picture of when I first got it. It was a one leaf cutting, so if I could find it, I'll put the picture here. This is what the elbow looked like in my monthly goals video a few months ago, and this is what it's looking like now. This plant has given me so much hell, y'all. She is the drama, and I've almost given up on this plant multiple times. Every time I come to terms with the fact that she's gonna die and I'm at peace with the idea, she decides to thrive. She's almost died on me twice now, and I'm a little bit over her shit, not gonna lie. But when I first got this plant, I water propped her. She grew beautiful roots. She was doing great, cool. Put her in my soilless mixture that I was using at the time. Almost died. So I took her out of that substrate, put her back in water to kind of get some more roots again because it rotted. Grew some beautiful roots again. Cool, we're happy. Put her in leca. Started rotting. Did not like it. So then I took her out again, stuck her in water. She rooted beautifully. Put her in pond. And so far she's been liking it. She's growing beautiful roots. I haven't had an issue with her rotting or anything, and she's been pushing leaves. The only issue is that she was getting some edema. So I don't know if you could tell, but there was a leaf right here that I had to cut off. It was a leaf similar to this one where it was almost all white and it turned completely translucent. And then I don't know if you could tell on this one, but this one started doing the same thing where it's the white part just starts turning translucent. I had no idea what was going on. So of course I took to Instagram and the plant fam was like, okay, too much water, let her dry out. So I have since stopped giving her a water reservoir. I will just let the pond completely dry out before I re-water it. The only thing is, since it is growing some roots on the bottom, I will allow some water to stay at the bottom just to keep those roots wet, but I don't keep a reservoir anymore. Since then, she's pushed out this leaf and it's been looking really good. It has not done that weird translucent thing that it was doing. So I think that we solved that problem, fingers crossed, and knock on wood, say a little prayer, because I can't with her anymore. If she does not want to be here, she doesn't have to be here, okay? So yeah, here she is now in all her glory. All of the leaves from the last update or from the monthly goals video obviously are dead, and she has regrown new ones and she's doing really good. Hopefully now she will be completely happy now that she doesn't have a water reservoir. It's just so weird because she was literally in water each time that she tried to die. She would thrive in water. So how come you don't like a water reservoir? The math ain't mathin'. But what do I know? Anyway, my dilemma now is because it's growing this little aerial root right there, I'm trying to decide if I want to go ahead and try to stick her on a moss pole again, or if I just want to leave her alone because I'm scared to mess with her at this point. But I feel like she would thrive really well if she had a pole to root into. But I don't want to go and mess with her and then she gets all pissy again. Haven't decided yet, but I guess we'll find out in the next update video. But this is the elbow now. The next plant that I mentioned was my Monstera Peru. Is this a Monstera Peru or a Rhaphidophora? I don't remember. Here was the plant in the monthly goals video. Again, if you go back to that video, I also showed what it looked like when I first got it. And here it is now. So this plant is actually, it's been pretty crazy. I don't know if you could tell. I'm not going to unwind it because I literally took a bunch of time the other day winding this up and clipping it together. So I don't want to undo it all. But if you can't tell, it's pushed out. I don't know if they're supposed to be runners or what, but it's like long vines like this. And it's just grown. I mean, this pot just like literally close to like 2 feet of runners. It was crazy. So I don't know if you could tell, but I've literally just circled it around in the pot as best as I could and then clipped it because I did not know what else to do with it. It's already starting to do it again. And there's not a ton of leaves on that spot. Like, I don't understand if that means it's not like happy, or maybe it pushes out the runners and then it grows leaves later, kind of like a Hoya. I don't know. So if you know, let me know. If I need to unwind this and let it grow leaves, I will. I just did not know what to do with it. But it's weird because as you can see, there's other stems that aren't that way. Like they just push leaves like a normal hanging basket. So I don't know if like these are runners strictly just to find ground to root into to like help the plant thrive and they're not meant to grow leaves. I have no idea. No clue, but it is doing really, really well. It's getting pretty big and pretty long. This one actually did go through a phase where it was not happy right after we moved. I had it in the tent and I've since cut most of the leaves off, but I left a couple on just to be able to show y'all. But it was doing this where the leaves were turning brown and just did not look healthy and happy. And it was right after I put it in that tent. It just did not like it. And as soon as I took it out, it stopped doing it. So I don't know what that was about. It did not like the tent at all. But otherwise, it's doing really well. It's bounced back. I did cut a couple of those leaves off just because they looked really bad. I do need to clean its leaves off, but otherwise, it's doing pretty good. So here is the Peru. This next plant, I'm not really sure how I'm going to show you without making an absolute mess, but it's the Campos Partennianum. I never know how to say it. Campos Partennianum, the Campo. Again, I showed you guys what it originally looked like. Then I showed you what it looked like before I gave the mother plant away, and I just took a cutting off of it. And then we've stuck it on a moss pole, and I think I showed you guys in the moving vlog what it looked like when it was just that one leaf on the pole. I think I had pushed a new leaf at that point, but it was just like 1 or 2 leaves on the pole. So here's what it looks like now. I'm so scared to drop this. So here is what it's looking like now. This is the original leaf that I had cut to stick on the moss pole. And then it's just been pushing out leaves ever since then. I don't know if you could tell, but I did extend this moss pole. When it got to the top of the first pole down here, I went ahead and cut it and then stuck that cutting back at the bottom. Whoops. So that's this cutting right here. And I did that because I really want this to be like a fuller plant on this pole. So I chopped it from the top and stuck it on this side, and it's already starting to push a new leaf and everything. I'm gonna let that grow all the way to the top of this first pole as well. And then I'm gonna chop it one more time and stick it in the middle of these two so that we have 3 vines on the pole, and then I'll just let it grow. I extended the pole before I decided to chop it, but since I had already stuck the pole on there, I just left it because this grows so fast. I'd have to throw it back on there pretty soon anyway, so I went ahead and just left it on there, but that's why it's empty. Honestly, I plan on just extending it until it's close to the ceiling, and then once all 3 vines get close to the ceiling, I'm going to cut the very top extension, put the top extension on the bottom, and then let it keep growing that way. That way they just get like really big, mature leaves, hopefully. So this is where we're at now. This is just beneficial mites as a preventative for like spider mites and stuff. So ignore that, but here she is in all of her glory. Hopefully soon she'll get a little bit more full and bushy and beautiful as she fills out. But yeah, super proud of her. She's such a fast grower too. It's crazy. The next plant is the Philodendron Columbia, aka the El Guapo. And I also showed that one in my last updates video. So again, I will link that down below if you want to go check that out. I'm not going to show it again because it hasn't been that long. Nothing's really changed with it. But that's it for the monthly goals video. So the next video that we're going to do an update on is the trip to the nursery. This is when I went to Strange's Nursery in Richmond, Virginia. And I grabbed a couple of things there. So let me put these plants back and then we'll do an update on the plants that I grabbed in that video. Okay, so now we are ready to do an update on the plants that I got when I went to Strange's Nursery. So the first plant that I mentioned in that video was the Pastazanum. And I already let y'all know that the Pastazanum got evicted because of its obsession with spider mites. I couldn't handle it anymore, threw it away. So there's no more Pastazanum. The second plant that I mentioned was my mixed pot of Hoya. So these were cuttings that I got from a couple plant friends who were trying to get me into Hoya at the time, and they sent me a few cuttings. And I had no clue what to do with them, and they almost died. So I stuck them in like a little Rubbermaid container, just like a little leftovers container with some moss, stuck them in there, threw them in the tent, kind of forgot about them, to be honest. For the most part, they came back and were doing really well. Me being me, I decided just to stick all of the survivors in one pot and just let them do their thing. And they've been doing pretty good ever since. I don't know if I've shown y'all this pot at all, but I'm gonna show you now. So here she is. And I really wish y'all would have seen how it started because it was tragic. What they started like, after like they kind of almost died on me, they were just like 2 leaves on a long stringy vine. It was just sad, and it's since done pretty amazing. And I'm not gonna lie, it took a couple years because this was at least 2 years ago, I want to say, that they sent me those cuttings, but they were kind of successful on their mission because seeing this grow from nothing into this has actually kind of made me interested in Hoya, and I've actually been buying Hoya. So I guess in a way it kind of worked. Originally, I just kept these because they gave them to me and it was more sentimental than it was interest. Does that make sense? But yeah, I eventually thought it was really cool and whatever. Hoya all right. Okay, they're all right. So yeah, I can't tell you what's in this pot. I have no idea. So if you can identify some of these, let me know. I've asked them, and I guess because it's been so long, they're like, we have no fucking clue. So again, ignore this. This is just preventative mites. But most of what's in this pot is this guy right here. I'm not quite sure what it is, but it's beautiful. I love the splash on it. It just looks so good. So that's what's mostly in this pot, as you can see. It's been doing some spectacular things. And then we also have this like fishtail type Hoya, which I actually really, really love. I love how these look. I've kind of fallen in love with it. There is a variegated one, which I'm sure everybody knows about, but they're like stupid expensive. And it's where it's like a dark green with a white outer lining. Is this like a polyneura or something? I don't remember the name, but yeah, I definitely want to get one of those eventually, but I just don't have enough confidence to spend that kind of money on a Hoya because I might kill it. I don't know. But I've actually really fallen in love with this like texture, and it genuinely looks like a little mermaid tail. I'm trying to turn it to where, there you go. Now you can see. Kind of just looks like a little mermaid tail. I love it. And then at the bottom of the pot here is this little mystery Hoya. I don't know what this is. I thought this was dead because it hasn't done anything in literal years. Like after it pushed out these couple of leaves, I don't know what happened, but it just sat and it looked like it was gonna die, but it didn't die. And since it didn't die, I just left it in the pot. And then within the last couple of weeks, it actually kind of looks like its little stem stick thing is coming back to life. So I don't think it's dead. That's crazy. Watch me break this off again. But can you see it? That one right there? If y'all know what that is, let me know. Because I have no clue. But yeah, so here is my little mixed pot of Hoya. Okay, so the next plant that I mentioned was the Hoya Lisa Australis. I still don't know the name of this plant. I didn't know in the video, still don't know now. Here's what it looked like when I got it. I got it as like 2 really small little starter plants, I guess. And I just combined them into one pot. And here it is now. This one was actually doing really well when it was in the tent when we first moved. And I did notice that the growth kind of started slowing down a little bit once I took it out of the tent, but I just don't really like putting my plants in those tents. I like to be able to see them. So this is out in like regular ambient conditions, I guess now. And like I said, the growth has slowed down just a little bit, but it's not terrible. It's still growing. I do want to get a trellis for this guy too, because he's starting to get a little bit like floppy. So eventually I am going to stick this on a trellis. But yeah, this is the Hoya Lisa Australis. I don't know. So doing well, but definitely needs to be trellised. All right, the next plants that I mentioned were African violets. And you guys, I really like these African violets. I'd say I'd actually buy more African violets. I've thoroughly enjoyed watching these grow. And they're just so pretty, and the way that they've evolved is just insane. So if you haven't ever tried African violets, you probably should, you guys, because they're really cool. The first one is called the Carolina Elegant Affair. This is what it looked like when I bought it, and this is what it looks like now. So it's gotten pretty big. I put it in these really cool pots that I showed you in that video. But look how big this guy has gotten. The inner leaves have turned this like beautiful pink and white variegation that's just like stripy and really cool. And this has flowered so many times for me. It is insane. Wish I had a picture of it when it was flowering. It just keeps pushing out flowers. It's super happy. I have it in that African violet plant soil that I had showed in that video. It's been super easy to care for. And it seems like it's been super happy. And it just, like I said, it just keeps growing and keeps blooming. Look at this. It's getting ready to bloom again. This is the first African violet that I got. It's getting big. It's growing beautiful. And I am a fan. The second African violet that I had gotten in that video is called the Wrangler's Swingin' Blues. This is what it looks like when I got it. Here it is now. It's so pretty. Again, this one just kind of took off and did its thing. I love the variegation of these leaves. They are so pretty. And this one is also just easy as hell to take care of. It just keeps blooming for me. This one doesn't bloom as much as the other one, but these are just stunning, like multi-petaled purple blooms that look so good against these leaves. From up top, they kind of look white, but if you can catch them from like underneath, they almost glow purple. It's really cool, and it just looks so good when it blooms with that purple bloom. I'm an absolute fan. So here are the African violets. Next plant that I mentioned was the Decursiva. This is the plant that I kind of had wanted for a while, and when I went to the nursery that day, that was the plant that I was planning on buying. So this is what it looks like when I bought it, and here it is now. I did kind of chop that original plant up, and I gave a couple cuttings to my kids and stuff like that, and I took the vining part of that plant and put it on a moss pole, and it's just taken off and done incredible things. I love these leaves. The leaf shape is so unique. They just look like little angels, and yeah, it's rooted really nicely into this moss pole, and it just pushes out these gorgeous leaves. So yeah, it's doing really well. I'm really proud of it. I like how full that it's looking on this pole, and I can't wait to extend the pole and just watch it continue to thrive and grow. They're just doing so well. I love the dark green shiny leaves. Oh yeah, so this one's been doing really well, and I'm super proud of it. So here's the Decursiva. All right, the last plant that I mentioned in the video, and the last plant that we're going to talk about in this video, is the Goliadii crossed with the Sellum. This is the plant when I first got it. So this is the one that also had thrips when I first got it. It wasn't a bad like infestation or anything, but I did need to treat it and separate it, make sure it didn't have anything else before it commingled with the rest of my collection, and it did really well. Here it is now, and I don't know what's going on with it, but it seems like it's kind of come to a complete halt once we moved. Ever since we moved, it just has not been pushing new leaves for me. There was one leaf that I cut off that kind of looked like it was like getting sick, like it had spots on it, and I was like, okay, is this fungal? What's going on? I haven't seen it on any other leaf though, so I don't know what was going on with it. Kind of started on this leaf pretty early on into the move, and the leaf unfurled, but it never really like got bigger or hardened off, as you could tell. Like it looked like it wanted to be thicker, because the last leaf that it put out, it was big, but it was very narrow. It lost its little body in the move. It got snapped. but it had gotten pretty big and it was doing really well. I don't know if it doesn't like the substrate or if it's something about the move that kind of threw it off. I don't know what's happening with it, but it's been stunted. Like, it's not growing, but it's not dying. I don't know. But this is the Goliadii crossed with the Selim now. Alrighty, you guys, so that was it for this update. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully you guys are enjoying seeing kind of like where the plants are now. It's so easy to get caught up in all of the hauls that sometimes I forget to go back and like update you guys. So it's been kind of fun to go back and compare what they looked like before versus what they look like now. Sometimes it's surprising to me because like I see this new growth every day. So it's not as dramatic in my head until I compare it to like the original video, and it's really fun to go back and see those things and just appreciate where we started and where we are and all the growth. I've been having fun with these videos, so hopefully y'all have too. But anyway, that's gonna be it for me. As always, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for coming and hanging out with me for a little bit, checking on all these little plant babies. I hope y'all are taking really good care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, y'all.